What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is Sane, and today we are going to continue the series of ranking all the types, all the Pokemon of each type in a Nuzlocke, kind of in a generalized standpoint. So what I mean by that is if you run into these Pokemon in their vanilla form, so no hidden abilities, no buffs that happen in ROM hacks like Pokemon Radical Red, for example, and other ROM hacks you might be playing. It's just if you ever run into them in the games they either appear in, or if you're playing a randomizer, how good are they with the tools and everything that they're gonna get in a normal playthrough? So no breeding moves, all that stuff like that. How good do I think they are in Nuzlocke? And I will crown which one I think is the best at the end of the video. Thank you for tuning in. Go ahead and let me know your favorite electric type in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you haven't. And this is the electric type video. Hope you guys enjoy. Alrighty, let's get into the tier list. So first I'll go over the tiers. Obviously we have the Zap, all the electric types. And we've got S through the D tier. We finally have the D tier in, even though you guys have such a weird obsession with the D tier. I don't know what it is. You guys are a little weird. But we have D tier, which is dud. These are the few Pokemon, very few Pokemon in here that are just literally not worth having in your team ever. Circuit, which is just, these Pokemon, they're okay. It's an electric type if you necessarily need one, but I don't think they do a lot for you, for your team. B tier, battery powered, they're good. They do the job. Nothing really special about it. They just do what they need to do. We have A tier, amped up. I think these guys are above and beyond in some way. They have more coverage. They have more things going for them than their competition. And then the S tier is the best of the best. And the final tier, the nuke tier, is going to be my pick of who I think the best electric type is for any kind of Nuzlocke in general. And I will go over a couple archetypes that you commonly see in this tier list to kind of I guess speed up the process. So the first thing you probably think about when you think about electric types is your super fast Pokemon. They're special attackers. They don't have a lot of coverage, so you're probably just running like Thunderbolts, maybe the Thunder, Rain Dance, Thunder Wave. They're very simple, very straightforward. That's what I'm going to call your typical SP. Your typical SP electric types. Your SP being Speed, Special Attack. This is like your Raichu, your Jolteon, stuff like that. Another archetype of electric types is the physical attackers. These ones are usually not as good because there's just not as good electric type physical moves. You're running with like Spark, Thunder Punch, which are just weaker than Thunderbolts. If you have like Zing Zap, that can be pretty good. So it kind of depends on how good they are, but they're usually not the best. So hopefully they've got something else going for them. You could have the supportive electric types that are kind of a mix of maybe they're physical, maybe they're special, but they've got just really good moves they learn that or abilities or something that keeps them afloat and gives them something else they can add to the team. I'll talk about those when we get to them. And then the slow, bulky electric types, that's like your Magneton, your Vikavolt, and that really depends on what they've got in their toolkit and how good they could be, but they are slower, which is going to be a little awkward compared to the other electric types, but they do have like Thunder Waves, so their speed might not matter too much. They can always set up, but let's get into it. Let's start with, so this Pikachu is Pokemon Yellow Pikachu, and it is a dud. It is so much worse than catching a wild Pikachu that can actually evolve into a Raichu. I don't really care that it gets like other moves via events. It's just bad and a weak Pokemon and unevolved, and Pikachu's not gonna work for that game. You get other starters, you get so many other good things. Just catch a wild one, it's literally better for you. But this Gigantamax Pikachu is gonna represent the Let's Go Pikachu, and this thing is, those two starters are the stupidest starters ever. They are so broken. They absolutely carry you through those games. Those games were meant to be super easy, and the way that Game Freak will usually go about balancing their games and making them easier is making the starters kind of carry the game for you. And that's exactly what this Pikachu does, so it's easily an S tier. Not going to talk about it much more, just Let's Go Eevee Pikachu is ridiculous, so it's easily S tier. Okay, let's get into Raichu. Raichu, I think, is very B tier. It does exactly what you need it to do, nothing really special. It's got like an okay physical attacking stat, so it can be like, it can have some interesting coverage of like a Brick Break, Dig, which can be kind of okay. You've got things like Iron Tail, I guess. Not really great coverage, but something there. So it's in B tier. It does its niche. It's very typical SP electric type. It's pretty much just running Thunderbolt, Thunder, Thunder Wave, and then you've got like a couple other moves you might throw on there just for random coverage to have on, because why wouldn't you? And I don't think Alolan Raichu is really much better. Stab Psychic is nice, but it kind of doesn't really have an ability. Surge Surf for doubling your speed in electric terrain is just super niche. You have to teach it electric terrain, the move to set that up to really get use out of it, and at that point just teach it agility. because it's already fast enough. You don't really need it. I don't think the electric coverage really gives it, or the psychic coverage really gives it that much of a benefit. So I'm going to leave it right. I think Raichu is probably better because Raichu can at least have Lightning Rod to have the immunity. Although Raichu realistically doesn't have a ability at all. So the psychic type is just, it's kind of whatever. So Magneton, I have Magneton and Magnezone both here. Magnezone is like, is the whole line Generation 4 onward. And Magneton is going to talk about the line from Generation 1 through Generation 3. And really just Generation 3 Magneton is easily S tier. Leaf Green, Emerald, all of those games, it's just a super hard carry. It usually basically solves the rest of the game for you. Beats the Elite Four very, very convincingly. Just watch out for Earthquake, which is, I mean, a brainer, a no-brainer. Have a flying type on your team. There you go. Here's Zelda. It's, yeah, the steel typing, the defensiveness. It's actually not too slow either. 70 speed is, you can work with it, especially if you like Paralyze. It's going to be faster than slow things and slower than fast things, which is fine. You can work around it. It's got the bulk. It's got the great typing. It's easily S tier. Electrode is painfully B tier. It's almost, I think it's almost too fast for its own good. It's faster than everything, but it's not strong. It has like 80 base power special attack, which is, or 80 point stat special attack, which is just so weak in comparison to other things, and its coverage is just worse than pretty much everything else. Like, the only thing you could really do with this is your stab Thunderbolts, Thunder Wave, I guess. Maybe put screens on it. You can use Explosion if you need to. I just don't like that strategy. It doesn't really, your like rollout, I guess, but your attack is so weak. Your attack stat's so weak. Yeah, you're not working with much. And so I think it's painfully B tier, near the bottom of B tier. I usually prefer basically any other Electro type to it. And if you're ever in a game with Hisui and Electro, like you're playing Legends Arceus or a randomizer that he appears in, the added grass typing is nice. It makes you kind of just like a one-stop answer to any water type that shows up. If they're water ground type, you've got the grass type. If they're water flying type, you've got the electro type stab. But it's going to be the same issues you're running into with Electro. It's kind of just more convenience. So I guess I'll put it like up here for convenience. Sure, maybe above everybody else in the B tier, but it still kind of runs into the same issues of being like really fast. It's faster than everything, but it's just too weak to really be super impactful. So it's landing in the B tier. And Electabuzz is literally just Raichu, but in Generation 3 at least, like slightly faster, slightly bulkier, but weaker physically. It's like the same thing as Raichu, so I'm just going to put it right here. I guess I'll put it up behind Alolan Raichu. And this is Electabuzz Gen 3 and below, where it turns into Electivire, where I'm going to talk about Gen 4. And onward, just like with Magnezone. Jolteon. Jolteon is like the king of the typical SP thing. It's doesn't have a lot of coverage, but doesn't really need it. Just stab Thunderbolt. You've got Thunder Wave. You can like use Agility, Baton Pass, because Eevee gets your Baton Pass in Gen 3, and before Bite is a special type or a special move. So you've got that coverage, which is great for like Sabrina and stuff. I think it's A tier. I think its stats are just too good. It's really fast, but it also hits really hard. So it's like, unlike Electrode, whose all of his stat points are into special attack or speed, and that's it. Jolteon still has really good special attack to go with it, and decent enough special defense. It could probably take like a hit or two, but it's gonna hit hard enough. It's gonna be fast enough to really matter. And so I think it throws in is the first one in the A tier. Lantern stats aren't amazing, but its typing is really, really good, and being a water type with Volt Absorb is really, really useful. The coverage of Stab Surf, Stab Thunderbolt, and you can also have Ice Beam, so you can have Bolt Beam. It's got great moves like Confuse Ray. It's got Thunder Wave. It can be a great wall. It can be offensive if you want it to. It's got a lot of HP too, so it's going to be pretty bulky. It's just such a good kind of combination of two types that you're going to want on your team most of the time, and it's got a lot of great moves, good kit. There's so much good for it. So much going good for it. I think it easily ends up in the A tier. I actually thought about S tier, but I'm just going to leave it in the A tier. Ampharos is the first slow, bulky electric type. It's not that bulky, but it hits really hard. I'll check its bulk is okay. I mean, you're looking at like base 90 in all your defensive stats, which is good. It's really slow, but it's got good special attack. So yeah, it'll be bulky, it'll hit hard for you. I think I want to say A tier, maybe B tier. It does get the elemental punches, which is super useful in like Gen 2 when they're all special. But Gen 4 goes away, but you still have moves like you can get power gems sometimes. It's just a great electric type. Discharge is a really good ability. It also gets some interesting other moves, like sometimes it gets Cotton Guard in later generations. I think it's just a little bit more standout than other electric types, in the B tier at least. And it's really strong. It's really strong. It's actually 90 in everything is pretty bulky. So I think I'm gonna leave it in the A tier, maybe the bottom A tier, top of B tier, somewhere like here. If you guys want to argue it's B tier, that's fine. I'm not gonna argue that. I think somewhere like here. Manectric I think is just pretty painfully bland, painfully B tier. B tier stands for bland, pretty much. It's fast, it hits hard, but it doesn't really have amazing coverage. You can teach it like Overheat, which is cool, and it gets like Flamethrower like late generations, which is really cool. But I don't think it's quite enough to put it in the A tier. I'm not going to talk about Megas. Every Mega is S tier, so without the Mega Evolution, I think it's just still another early electric type that's good, but gets outclassed a little bit later on. And the first thing to outclass it from Hoenn is actually Plusle and Minun. These things are fantastic because they have Encore. Encore is super good move. You just lock the enemies into a move, and then you can just basically throw prediction out the window. You can easily plan around, switch things in, set up. It's super good, super good move to use in your Nuzlocke. You also have like Helping Hand for the few double battles that appear sometimes. That's not a big deal. They also have Baton Pass, so just like Jolteon, they could be supportive that way with like Agility Baton Pass, Substitute Baton Pass, stuff like that. And they still hit hard enough. They're still very fast. 95 special attack is still good. It's the same as Raichu, so they're basically just Raichus that don't need to evolve with Encore. And that's just too good. And Raichu, I know Raichu can get Encore in some games. I think it's a little bit too inconsistent to rank in a vacuum, so I'm going to leave it in the B tier. But Plusle, Minun always have it. Their abilities are okay. I mean, it's really just double battle focus, but they're great. They've got so much going for them. Luxray. You guys know I love Intimidate, but this is probably the one Intimidate Pokemon I'm not going to put very high. I'm going to throw it in B tier. It's just because it's a slow and not as bulky. Intimidate definitely helps, but a slow, not very bulky, physical attacking Pokemon, which I just don't think, or physical attacking electric type, which I just don't think is that good. Its special attack is like usable, but its special attack is the same as any other electric type Pokemon. Like it's like the same as Raichu, so just use Raichu at that point. Like I don't think Intimidate gives it that much more than other Pokemon. Maybe it does for your team build. Like it's not bad. It's definitely not a bad Pokemon. It's got the same speed tier as Magneton, which is the base 70, base 80 range, where I'm like, it's faster than slow Pokemon, slower than fast Pokemon, so it can be used. It's got okay coverage with like the elemental Fang moves, like Fire Fang, Ice Fang. They can be nice. Crunch is kind of nice. It's got some like pretty fun coverage, but they're just not high base power, so it will definitely fall off for you later. So I'm gonna leave it in the B tier. Pachirisu changes very heavily based on what Sinnoh generation you're playing. If you're playing Gen 4, it's awful. If you're playing Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl, where it gets all these other moves like it gets Zing Zap, Nuzzle, Electro Ball, Screen, Sweet Kiss, Follow Me, it gets all of these things by level up, it's so much better. Like I would put it like maybe A tier in that game. So I'm just gonna balance it. I'm just gonna leave it in C because you're probably playing Gen 4, or that's probably gonna run into it. So I'm just gonna leave it in C tier. It can be used. It can definitely shift around. This is not, it depends on what generation you're playing, but I'm just gonna leave it in C tier because most often probably it's not gonna be the best Pokemon ever. As cute as it is, as much as I love it, I gotta put something in C tier. Electivire in Gen 4 is also C tier, which hurts to say, but in other games where you can get it a lot earlier, it's good. It's fast, it's got a good special attacking stat, it's got a good physical stat, which is really just used for its coverage because you probably want to run Thunderbolt on it. You get Wild Charge, but Wild Charge is just not as good, and it's just not as good because of the recoil. It doesn't do enough damage really to really make up for the recoil like Flitter Blitz and Double Edge do, because they do so much more damage. Wild Charge being 90, it's just, you might as well run Thunderbolt, and it's kind of just the same issue as Luxray, where its special attacking stat is just not as good. It's still a good Pokemon. Motor Drive can really clutch. It's kind of just has the issue of not being a special attacker, or not being as good of a special attacker, and coming really late most of the time, which hurts. And you're kind of just with Elective Buzz. So I'm just gonna leave it in the B tier. It could maybe be A tier. It's kind of like Ampharos. It's like the borderline here, but I'm gonna leave it. I'm just gonna leave it in the B tier for now. The top of B tier. It's not a bad. B tier is not bad. B tier just means like bland or balanced. Balanced. I like that. The balanced tier. Magnezone I don't think is quite as good as Magneton is in the earlier generations, just because Steel starts to get worse and worse. There's just better like fighting types, better fighting moves, especially like fighting coverage that just gets thrown around. And it's not. This just doesn't take care of the Elite Fours of like Gen 3 as well, but it's still easily A tier. It's still really good. Steel typing is just so good. It hits really hard. Magnapole is not the best ability, so you're kind of hoping for Sturdy, which I guess now finally works in the generations that Magnezone is in. Or I guess it finally works in Gen 5. But yeah, Magnapole can be. It's like good to get like Skarmories, and that's it. It doesn't really help you in battle. Sturdy's kind of the go-to, but yeah, still bulky, still really bulky, hits really hard. 130 special attack is not bad at all. And you got like this steel stab. You finally have steel stab moves because not that Magneton doesn't really have like Flash Cannon or anything to work off of. Magneton's got Flash Cannon. You got like Gyro Ball. He's got a little bit more going for him, but I think A tier, top of A tier, is a really good spot for him to be. So I'm gonna talk about Rotom. Base Rotom, and then if you can ever get the Rotom forms, which I don't think I ranked that for the ghost types, which is not always ghost type, but it would always be electric, and I guess I'll talk about it. If you can ever get the Rotom forms, Rotom Wash, Water Electric with Levitate, Rotom Heat are both easily S tier. Rotom O can be really good. The other forms are pretty bad, but if you can get form changing, the form changes for Rotom, it's easily an S tier Pokemon. Just so much going for it. Stats, typing, the moves, because it's gonna get good stab of any of those moves, like Hydro Pump on Rotom Wash, which I think is the best, so I'm gonna use that to rank it. But normal Rotom is still going A tier. It's not as strong as some of these other Pokemon. It's not like as strong as Jolteon, but the Ghost typing with Levitate on it means it's an electric type, not weak to ground. It also is just a Ghost type that gives it the immunity to fighting to normal. So you've got 3 immunities because you're immune to ground, which is really cool. It's great defensive typing, great offensive typing too for both of them. It's not a lot of things resist both, Shadow Ball and Thunderbolt, which is great moves for it. It gets screens, it gets things like Substitute by Level Up, which is really cool. There's a lot going for it. It gets a lot of really good things. It's got good typing, good ability, fine stats, good move pool. Easily an A tier Pokemon. Somewhere like up here. Somewhere like that. Zebstrika is another physical electric type, which just Wild Charge isn't as good as other moves, so it's going to end up in B tier. It's fine. It's got like decent fire coverage. That's, something for it at least. It's just, kind of just ends up kind of the same as Magnezone. It's fine. It's usable. It's not the best. It's not the worst. I think that's B tier. Emolga is carried heavily by its typing. Flying Electric is one of the best typings. I'm not going to say ever, but it's one of the best typings, maybe like a top 10 type combination that you could get. It's very weak, which sucks, but Acrobatics is so strong, especially if you have like Flying Gem Acrobatics in Gen 5. That really helps. You have Volt Switch, and this Pokemon is just like so good at switching out. It's Electric type, immune to ground, which is cool. Yeah, Electric Flying, really good typing, and not a lot of weaknesses. You've got things like Encore, you've got things like Baton Pass. There's just a lot going for it. So I'm going to leave it up here, kind of by Rotom, in the A tier. Very usable Pokemon. More supportive, I guess, than offensive, but it's still... It's got some moves. It's got some things you can do. Electros, being a pure electric type with a Levitate, means it has no weaknesses, which is really cool, but not, untouchable. So I'm leaving it in the A tier. If it was bulkier, or maybe faster, or I guess if its stats were a little bit changed, I guess. Just changed in a more impactful way, it would be better. It's kind of just slow. It's got okay bulk, and it's got good attack and special attack, so it's kind of just moderately slow Pokemon, moderately bulky, mixed attacker. It does have a lot of really cool coverage. Like it's got fire coverage. You can teach it like Giga Drain. Obviously, you have your stab electric. You can do like crunch, maybe fighting coverage. There's a lot that you can do with it. It's like the perfect Pokemon for Assault Vest if you never get that. And I mean, just being a Pokemon with no weaknesses puts it safely on it. It makes it very safely to fill a team slot. So easily A tier. It's better than like an Ampharos or something, but I don't think quite S tier. I think it's somewhere up in the A tier. Very, very useful Pokemon. It does evolve kind of late though, so that's another somewhat issue. But I mean, I think the pre-evolutions have Levitate too. They do, so you're basically just fine. I mean, Electric with Eviolite for a while is going to be really good. So yeah, very useful Pokemon. Galvantula, I'm throwing in the S tier. The Bug Electric typing can be really useful, especially in its home generation of Gen 5. Bug is really, really good into Elite 4 because you've got like a Dark type Elite 4 member, you've got a Psychic type Elite 4 member. But the real kicker is Compound Eyes with Thunder. It's too good. Plus you have like Bug Buzz for very solid special Bug Stab. I think Galvantula, it's got a perfect moveset going for it. Great ability, really interesting typing. So much, it's just got so much going for it. Yeah, so much going for it. You've got Volt Switch and U-Turn even. You can switch out against the ground type. Sticky Web is really good. Its physical attack is not great. If only it had higher special attack, I'd like it more. But I mean, 97 and Stab Thunder is just so like, you've got everything you need. It can learn Giga Drain too, which is cool. That's some really fun coverage, and it's not weak to ground, which is really fun for electric type. Yeah, so much good things going forward. Easily an S tier Pokemon, in my opinion. See who's next. Stunkfish. Stunkfish is like funny. It'd be fun to use. Ground Electric on the same Pokemon is kind of fun to use, but it's not like the Electric type helps you beat Water types because you're slow and like not very good stat wise. As fun as it sounds, it's not. It just doesn't have anything amazing going for it. So I'm putting it in the C tier. I thought about B tier. I was like, it's got some good bulk. It's got some fun moves. Like Discharge Earth Power combo is funny. Pain Split funny. It's got some fun things. And later generations it gets better as it gets things like Scald it could use and like. Yeah, it's funny, but not amazing. So I'm putting it in C tier. It's not the worst. It's like better than Pachirisu, I think. It's more fun too. I don't know. Pachirisu is really fun. Heloisk. This is a very typical SP electric type. It's just speed, special attack, and then everything else is pretty bad. But it is perfectly geared towards any weather team you want to make, which is a very common type of team you can make in a Nuzlocke. Its best ability, I think, is probably Dry Skin. The Solar Power is hidden ability. But Dry Skin gives it the immunity to water. It puts it in the rain teams perfectly, and it's already like, you want to run Thunder on it. 109 and speed and special attack is great. It's got fine special defense too, so it could definitely take a hit there. It's got some fun coverage. You can use like Solar Beam if you want it to be in the sun. It can get like Surf in later generations. I think it's a lot of fun to use. It's got a lot of good things going for it, and the normal typing on it just gives it the Ghost immunity. I mean, you're weak to fighting. That's not a huge deal, I don't think. The Ghost immunity is great. It's kind of a fair trade-off. And then you've got, like, I guess, Hyper Voice to hit other things for neutral. If that's, probably not the most impactful thing. I think the real kicker is Dry Skin. Although if you have a Sandville one, you can build a Sandstorm team, and that's great for it too. I think Solar Power is another great ability if it's too bad it's locked behind hidden. But yeah, Dry Skin, easily A tier Pokemon to me. I think it's very, very solid. Dedenne is, I'm gonna say right in the middle of B tier somewhere. The Fairy typing's cool. It's just kind of weak stat wise. Cheek Pouch is cool because you're definitely running berries in your Pokemon. It's probably the most common item you're ever gonna have. But it doesn't really get any fairy moves by level up, so you're just waiting until you get like a Dazzling Gleam up TM, and it's just kind of too weak. Like 81 special attack is just too weak. Too weak, but the fairy typing is cool. It's got some like decent things going for it. I think just B tier. I think it's better than these guys in the C tier, but probably like at the bottom of B tier, something like that. Still solid. Alolan Golem. Say that 10 times fast. Alolan Golem, Alolan Golem, Alolan Golem. Alolan. Rock electric typing is horrible. It's physical electric type, which just I just don't think the typing is good like at all. I think that really holds it back. It would be cooler if it was like a bulky special attacker. I think Magnet Pole again, not very good. Sturdy is like okay, I guess. If only Galvanize was not its hidden ability, because that would be a cool move. Because you could do like a Galvanize Double Edge or Galvanize Return. That could be really good. But without its hidden ability, sadly it's a hidden ability. And without that, I just don't think it's very good at all. So I'm gonna throw it C tier. You're just better off with a regular Golem or basically anything else. Yeah, it's kind of sad. Galvanize would be like B tier, maybe A tier, honestly. But it's held back by hidden abilities a lot. Vikavolt. This thing evolves really late a lot of the time. Just because, like, it's just in Sun and Moon because you don't get the electric field for a while. But 145 special attack speaks for itself. It's an electric type Levitate and a bug type, which is just cool. So 145 special attacking stat with two really good stab options, I think. I think bug electric is really fun typing. I think easily A tier. I think there's nothing to talk about, really, just perfect A tier. It's very strong, does the job for you. Fills the role of two different types that you might want. Yeah, easily A tier. It's very, very slow. I think if it was like 70 speed, I'd put it S tier. But it's like, it's definitely going last, which kind of hurts it. Doesn't kind of hurt it, it hurts it a lot. Unless you're building like a Trick Room team, then it's like an S tier pick for a Trick Room team. And it could use a little bit more bulk, so. Those are all the things that I think hold it back from S tier. It does get like Roost later generations, which is really cool too. But the real kicker is like Stab Discharge, Bug Buzz. You've got like slow Volt Switches, which is cool too. Yeah, easily A tier. Oricorio's kind of interesting. I think this is probably the best form of Oricorio. I don't think Flying Ghost, Flying Fire, Flying Psychic are that great. And its stab of, what is it, Revolutionary Dance or whatever that move is just basically Thunderbolt. So you don't really have a better stab, and that's the only electric type move you're going to get. But it's still fine. I'd still probably put it B tier. I think Oricorio's as itself is pretty good. It's got like Feather Dance. Being able to steal other dance moves would be really cool in case you run like a Quiver Dance Pokemon like the Rabombi later, or a like a Dragon Dance Pokemon in case you ever just run into that. You just steal that boost for the fun of it, but I don't think it's quite B tier. I don't think it's quite C tier. I think it's got enough going for it to be B tier. Great typing, great supportive moves, good stats, like decent stats. Yeah, I think B tier is fine. I think B tier is probably a good spot for it. Put like here. Togedemaru. The most Naruto-sounding Pokemon name ever. This literally sounds like, I heard the name Togedemaru and I was like, that's a Naruto character. That is not a Pokemon, that's a Naruto character. But this thing is great. Iron Barbs can be pretty good. Lightning Rod is good. Electric Steel typing is good. It's got good speed, good physical attack, and it has the amazing Zing Zap move, which can flinch, paired with Nuzzle is a really good moveset. You've got Fake Out, you get like Spiky Shield, U-Turn. There's a lot going for it. I think it's not quite S tier. If it was a little bit more bulky, I would put it in S tier. Because then it could be like a really good defensive Pokemon. It's not very bulky. It's kind of just using the steel typing for, I guess, switch-ins. But it's a great physical, like semi-supportive, semi-offensive physical electric type. With your Paraflinch combo and like Spiky Shield, Iron Barbs can be really effective. I think it's easily A tier. I think it's like better than like an Emolga or something. I like it a lot. I've used this in my first couple playthroughs of Sun and Moon, my first normal playthrough and my first Nuzlocke of it, and this thing is a champion. It's an absolute champion. I love this thing. The best Pikachu clone, by far. It's a little ball with a Naruto name. It's amazing. Alright, on to Gen 8. Boltund is a very typical offensive electric type. It has the same physical and special attacking stat, and really good coverage. With that, like you get like Psychic Fangs, you get like Bite, you can use Dig. I don't think it quite puts it up into the A tier. I think it's a very solid B tier. Kind of the same story as Togedemaru. I used it in my first few playthroughs of Sword and Shield, my first Nuzlocke, and my first casual playthrough, and it's serviceable. It kind of falls off later It doesn't hold on. I guess it doesn't hold on to its usefulness as much as like the A tier doesn't have like something above and beyond going. You'd probably just switch it out for a Jolteon at some point if you really need like a special attacking electric type. But it's very solid. I think it's probably the best of all of these in B tier. I would say probably like here. It's useful. Toxicity is okay too. I'd like it if it was faster. Poison electric is okay. I don't think it's amazing typing. Overdrive is a good ability. It makes your boom burst hit stupidly hard, and Punk Rock is the ability. Overdrive is the stab, which is good stab. I think it's kind of up here at the top of B tier. I just think it's maybe a little too slow. Maybe, I mean, if you ever run into a Pokemon with soundproof, you're just completely walled, which sucks. And you don't get the moves like Overdrive and Boom Burst till like really late, so it's not as useful early on. So, not quite A tier, B tier, but it can kind of pop off for you. Pincurchin would be like A tier if it had electric surge, electric terrain as its normal ability, but sadly it's locked behind hidden. But Lightning Rod's okay. I mean, it's a fine ability for electric type. It's a physical attacking one. It's pretty bulky, but I think the combo of Curse Recover is great. It has Zing Zap too. I'm gonna leave it in B tier. I don't think it's quite A tier. With electric terrain, it would be A tier, but without it, I think B tier is fine. Morpeko I talked about in the last video because we did Dark type, and I think this Pokemon is just, I don't really get how to use it, so if someone knows better ways how to use this thing, let me know in the comments. I'm going to leave it in B tier because the Dark typing is cool. Hunger Switch is just such a weird ability. You've got great stab you get later on in, what is that move called? Whatever stab move is. I'll find it here in a second, but like electric Dark typing is like okay. The ability kind of just means you might not have the stab that you want at the time because it's just kind of inconsistent. That's what I get from this Pokemon. Also, stat-wise, not fantastic. It's slower than a lot of these other electric types, and Gen 8 is a very fast region, so I think it actually kind of hurts. And 95 attack, I think it's okay. It's kind of like B tier, C tier stat-wise, and then Aura Wheel. That move, which you get late. I mean, 110 stab is great, but it could just switch types on you when you don't want it to because of Hunger Wheel. Or not Hunger Wheel, Hunger Switch, what is it called? Hunger Switch, I got that right. I think it's too inconsistent, so I'm leaving the B tier. Maybe it could pop off for you. Maybe. I think it's just B tier. I was thinking C tier initially, but like, I'll leave it like balancing here with the Dene. And the two fossils, so Arctozolt, Dracozolt. In competitive, Dracozolt is really, really good, but its stats are not fantastic. I don't really like Hustle in a Nuzlocke. And Dragon Electric is like good, but I think it's kind of just eh. It doesn't really have... Bolt Beak's a great move, don't get me wrong. But I don't know if it really puts it above and beyond. It gets it really late too. Yeah, stats are just not there. Typing's good, but Bolt Beak is like 63. Like, you have it for like one fight. You have it for like the final champion fight, which I guess it's gonna be Charizard. It's gonna be the Charizard, so I guess sure. B tier? Maybe. No, it's not good until then, so I'm leaving C tier. Arctozolt. I mean, the stab combo of stab Bolt Beam is good enough for me to put it like at least B tier. I guess abilities for both of them. Volt Absorb, it's good. Volt Absorb is always good. I mean, you're just immune to something and you heal off it, so it's great for switch-ins. Hustle, I don't like Hustle personally, and then Static on Arctozolt I don't think is good. These Pokemon are punished by their best abilities being hidden abilities. I mean, Sand Rush, Dracozolt would actually be like B tier, if not A tier. It'd be fantastic. And Slush Rush, say that 10 times fast too. I don't think it, yeah. The hidden ability would make it better, but their normal abilities, you're basically hoping for Volt Absorb, which is good. I'll just leave that good. Arctozolt stat-wise, not any better than Dracozolt, maybe worse. But I just think the stab combo of Bolt Beam, you got Freeze Dry, which is great. It's solid. You still have Bolt Beak. Super late, but it's going to be better early on because you can just teach it like any electric stab, any ice stab, and that combo is good. And it also gets water coverage for whatever reason. That's funny. So I'll put this one in B tier. I'll put it like here. Let's put it there. That's fine. And to finish this video off, we have to crown the nuke tier. So, I mean, the first obvious one is Let's Go Pikachu. That starter is broken, but no one really plays that game, so I don't want to put that as the new Pokemon. The next one I was thinking of is Magneton, but it kind of feels weird to rank a form that's not in every game. Because, like, Magneton is, I would say, is deserves this title, but Magnezone doesn't. So I feel weird putting it there. Same with, like, the Rotom forms. It's like, Rotom Wash is, like, one of the best Pokemon ever. But base Rotom isn't. So it kind of just defaultly goes to Galvantula. So I think Galvantula is my pick for the best electric type. Compound Ice Thunder, as I talked about earlier, I think it's just amazing. I think it's amazing, and I think looking at the list of all these other Pokemon, if I had to, I guess, compare the two, and let's say I have a Pokemon team and I gotta put electric type on there, and I've got all these Pokemon at in my box, I guess. I can pick from any of them with their best abilities, compound eyes and stuff. I think I would pick Galvantula above the rest of these guys, you know, unless there's some other niche I need my team to be filled with, like a building a weather team, maybe I use Heliolisk. Or if I need a steel type, then maybe I'd use Togedemaru, but I think Galvantula is the best. It's just my opinion. Let me know who your favorite electric type is in the comments. Mine is probably Electros. It's just so cool. Eagles are cool. Electric Eagle is so cool. This thing's so cool. But yeah, let me know what your favorite electric type is. Let me know your thoughts on which Pokemon I've ranked. I know you guys are going to disagree with me, so tell me about how dumb I am about Electivire being in B tier, because I know it's the first comment I'm going to get. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. I think I'm going to do Fairy type next week. Let me know what other types you want to see. I'm starting to get, I think, about halfway through them all. I'm going to do the ones like Water type and Normal type last because they're going to take the longest. I'm going to take a lot of editing. But thanks for tuning in. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys for all your support. And I'll catch you all later. Peace.